So, Corey, did you get your Rock'em Sock'em robots that you were so hoping for this movie?
Yeah, it was...
Robots versus monsters.
Yeah, it was good. Like, I could have used without any of the cutscenes to them actually like fighting in the robots because I just didn't give a fuck. Like, I hated that. Like, I just did not care. Like, and what I didn't get is like, why would you invent something where you have to control these robots, right? But yet you feel what the fuck the robot's feeling. Like, who thought that was a good idea?
Right. Let's give them some sort of pain in the area they've been hit in. That's a great idea.
Yeah. The like because you saw them like running, right? Like in one of the scenes, and they're both the guys are running in the fucking machines, and then they're taking a hail of barrage of shit coming from that other fucking monster, and like they're like, like as they're running, like taking the fucking. I wish everybody could see my motion right there, like, and I was going, well, that's just stupid. Like who invented a pain sensor? Like, I mean, I guess it's so they know what's... I don't know. It's dumb.
Maybe it's so they can so they can control the robot because it's been shifted, because its weight's been shifted. It's who knows? It's a movie.
Yeah. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad.
Right, and that's what it looks like everyone's saying online, and all the reviews are saying too. Is that it's okay. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's definitely like a more of, again, wait for it to come out on Netflix and watch it at home, like on your nice surround sound system and, TV. And if you don't have that, watch it on your laptop.
Right.
With some headphones. Like, you're not missing much.
Right. Well, so anybody who is joining us for the first time, welcome. You have found the Two Dads Review podcast. We are just a couple dads. My name's Clay. The guy on the other mic is...
I'm Corey.
He's Corey.
I almost forgot which name I was going to go with there for a minute. Oh, I'm Sloth Bear. Oh, I'm Corey. Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, you can find him on social media and on Mixer at SlothBear35 in case you want to watch him get mad at the latest update to Star Wars Battlefront 2 or play Siege.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, watch me. You want to see me have a shit time. Watch me play Siege right now because, like... my skill set that I had in that game is like just gone out the window now, dude. Like I die in the dumbest fucking ways possible. Like I'm sitting there going, yeah, I got this side. And then I just like a guy sneaks up on me and just shoots me in the back of the head. I'm going, I was just looking down that hallway. Like the moment I turn around is when he finally decides to appear. It's been bad news bears. Bad news bears in that game.
Just all around.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. In general, bad news bears. Cox Day.
Nice. Well, hey, there you go. It happens. It happens every now and then. So that's who we are. So if you found us anywhere that wasn't twodadsreview.com, you can always go over there. That's our audio boom site. You can listen to all of our past podcasts. We've reviewed Star Trek Discovery Season 1. We reviewed Season 7 of Game of Thrones. We've got a bunch of different movie reviews. And we did American Horror Story the last season as well, but we don't like to talk about that because that season sucked.
Yeah, you want to talk about a nightmare of a show to get through. God damn.
You can also find links to where you can listen to us elsewhere than the Audio Boom site. We've got links to Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, and Radio Public. And as always, you can head over to the YouTube channel, which is also Two Dads Review. Have a listen to us there. That's the admin stuff. Let's get into Pacific Rim Uprising, buddy. So it's doing okay in the box office and doing okay by the critics. It's got a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 54% from the audience on Rotten Tomatoes. So, everybody's just kind of like, it's good-ish. I mean, if you liked the first one, you're probably going to like the second one. Some newer, different Jaegers, stuff like that.
Yeah, man. I never saw the first one.
Really?
Yeah, it was one of those movies I always wanted to watch, and then I never bought it, and I never saw it in the theater, and then I just kind of forgot about it.
Interesting. So Metacritic has it at a 44, IMDb has it at a 6.0, and CinemaScore has it as a B. So, I mean, it's one of those, like, it's okay. It was good. If you came to watch, big giant robots fight big giant monsters, it's what you got.
Yeah, I mean, I would have probably, if someone would have asked me right after the movie, I'd have probably been like, yeah, C+, B-.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't here nor there. I wasn't changed by it. I wasn't like amazed by some sort of spectacle. It is a lot of CG monsters fighting CG robots.
Yeah, all I could think of was that Windows commercial going, oh, hey, that's where the lady picked out the fucking plot for this fight.
Yeah. Oh, I did. I was like, oh, I wonder we're going to get to that part.
Yeah.
And I know exactly where it was, where they were having that intro where they were standing pretty. Remember, they're like, all you got to do is stand there and be pretty.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I think that's pretty much where it was. I was like, oh, that's hilarious. So anyway, so a little bit of background. So the movie was directed by Stephen S. DeKnight, who has directed, this is his first movie. He's directed a few episodes of Angel, Smallville, and an episode of Dollhouse and Daredevil, like the Netflix show. He's written a whole bunch of stuff. He wrote a whole bunch of Buffy, Angel, Smallville shows. He also wrote and created most of Spartacus on I think it was on Stars or whatever back in the day.
Yeah, Spartacus was on Stars.
That was a great show. And so I already was when I was.
It was good until the dude died.
Well, that was only the first season. I mean, they what they did was what they had, what they had to do.
Yeah, I just could never do it though. I watched The Blood in the Sand when they went back and I was like, all right, that's cool because it's a whole different cast, so I can fall in love with people. And then when they brought him back as the new character, even though he was signed off on, I was like, dude's not ripped enough, man.
Yeah,
he's a baby. He's not Mouse and I were both like, I can't get behind this guy.
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying because you're right. The first guy, sad that he died, and I know what you're talking about that he signed off on it. I know what you're talking about, but yeah, the second guy was definitely a little more you need to get on some of that 300 Gerard Butler workout.
Yeah, man, I don't know what kind of slave you are, but you look like you've been eating pretty well.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, I definitely finished that whole series, and it was it had its moments. It had some really great actors who were tied into it, so it was pretty cool. So he also wrote, he wrote a bunch, all the episodes, or a lot of the episodes of Spartacus, and some of the episodes of Daredevil as well. So this is his first theatrical movie that he's directed. So I didn't think it was a bad job. It didn't feel like a TV show. Sometimes you run into that with guys who do TV, as it kind of just feels like a big long TV show. But I felt it was pretty grandiose when it needed to be grandiose.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know how you can fuck up robots smashing big monsters, right? That's the whole principle. It's just as long as you make that look cool,
right,
you're gonna have an okay movie.
Right, I can look past
because no one's there for any of the other shit.
Right, don't put too much plot into it because I need to have my robot smash in time. So don't mess that stuff up.
Yeah, exactly. I know that sounds counterproductive to movies, but in this type of film, yes, the story is secondary to the action and the monsters.
Right.
I feel that even the good guys, in their big fucking mech suits and all that shit, whatever. I wanted to see the new monsters.
Right.
I wanted to see what kind of cool shit they were going to bring out.
Right. And they've just pretty much, it's great. So we'll go ahead and give everybody a spoiler alert now, because I'm sure Corey and I will jump around. If you're new to us, that's what we do. If you want spoilers, this is where you're going to come for them. If you're not new to us, then you know how we work. So, just hang on. The fact that they did practically like a Voltron of the monsters, where he used those drones to put those three monsters together. I was like, how does that even work?
Yeah, dude, I guess they just have some kind of meshing capability. I don't know, man. Like I said, there's not a whole lot to be thought into it. Okay, so we get it, dude. Those monsters teamed up and they were formed a super monster.
A super monster.
Mm-hmm.
Mega kaiju.
Yeah, right.
That's what they called it, actually. So this movie, of course, starred John Boyega. We all know him as Finn from the new Star Wars trilogy. Also, did you know? So his training partner, the guy who was also in charge of them, do you know who that was? Did he look familiar to you?
I don't think I paid any attention. I mean, he looks kind of familiar.
To be completely honest, I didn't either, and I've been waiting for this guy to break out in Hollywood. I'm not sure this was the movie to do it in, but that guy is Scott Eastwood, as in Clint
is that
Eastwood's
Clint's
son?
Is that Clint's son? Okay,
and
yeah, he's a good looking dude, man.
Yeah, I mean, he as an actor. He hasn't been in a whole bunch, so he hasn't been really out there. I've been waiting for him to be Clint Eastwood 2.0. I need him to like.
Well, I don't think that's gonna happen. He's like 3 inches shorter than his dad. First of all, so
yeah, you can't help that.
Like,
hey, wait, you could just do what Tom Cruise does and wear extensions or walk up on ramps all the time when you talk to your co-stars.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's definitely ways around it, filming from. But I'm just saying, like, that's like having Michael Jordan's kid be the next Michael Jordan. Like, it's just not gonna happen, dude. Like, like you may have your own career and be your own special thing, but you'll never be Clint Eastwood.
Hey,
like, you'll never be Michael Jordan. Like, if Oprah had a kid, you'll never be fucking Oprah. Like, sorry, dude. There's certain people that just reach echelons in life, and there's absolutely no way anybody but that person can get to them.
I sadly agree with you, even though with as unoriginal as Hollywood is these days, I want to see like a prequel to, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or like the old school stuff that like put Clint Eastwood on the map but have his son play a younger him. That's what I need. That would be awesome. I don't even care.
I could see that. I mean,
I could see Hollywood being that unoriginal.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey man, we're gonna do Dirty Harry. Get his kid.
Yes. Like as a beat cop, like before he was a detective.
Right? Yeah. There you go.
Like what soured him to the world? What made him the cynical murder
basically,
machine?
It's just 15 minutes of him doing traffic, and then all of a sudden you just fast forward and he's a detective, and you're like, "Oh, I got it, dude. You were out there. Okay, no, it makes sense now. You didn't have some murder mystery that got you, or some kid that was killed when you were on the street. It was just you were like, dude, I got to get the fuck out of here. I can't be doing traffic my whole life."
Yeah, right. So, okay, so you heard it here first. When that shit happens in the real world, we called it here that Hollywood's that unoriginal, that they're going to have to reboot stuff like that. I mean, everything else, nothing is sacred anymore. If it's rebootable, they're going to reboot it. If it's prequel worthy, they're going to prequel it. So,
yeah, man. I mean, but also like at the same time, like I don't know how many like original ideas there really are left in the world.
Yeah, I mean, everything is a story that's based on something else, and it's been done
right
before.
Like I remember like playing like when I was learning the guitar, like playing certain things that I thought I made up, and then only coming to find out that like those were the exact chords from some other song that I didn't know anything about, but I just happened to hear later, and I was like, oh, okay, so basically it's just a rearranging of like every musical song ever, and you hope that yours sounds just a tad different.
Yeah, if you play guitar, you got to learn like maybe 10 chords max in your set. You can play 90% of what's out there.
Yeah, especially if you don't want to solo.
Right, if you don't want to pick. I'm not a picker.
Yeah, like if you're a rhythm dude, if you're a rhythm guy, man, like you can get like fucking 10 chords and you're solid, right, dude. You're good.
So, when it comes to the other actors in the movie, none of them are really that we'd actually know. I mean, Charlie Day and Bern Gorman both reprise their roles as Dr. Newton Geisler and Dr. Herman Gottlieb, respectively. So they were fun in the first movie. Their banter back and forth was more of the comic relief for the first movie, and they do. They play the same characters. There's not as much humor, I don't think, on their part. Actually, there's not a lot of. Was there a lot of humor? I don't remember there being a whole bunch of chuckle moments. There's a few of them, but not a lot.
Yeah, no, this was like, I guess everybody was still supposed to be in a somber mood 10 years later.
Yeah, except John Boyega, who's throwing bro parties at a half mansion.
Yeah, right? He was like, dude, I just love living on the outskirts of town where this giant monster fell over and I can party. I'd be like, dude, I got a badass sculpture. Like, why would anybody leave?
Right. They don't leave, apparently. Sleeping on sea-doos in the middle of the Po.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The people that own that house left.
True. Well,
like, he just took it over, and I'm going, I mean,
or they're
I would have came back to it. Right? Like... Bony monster, I would have came back to it and just been like, yeah, I got something cool to play on.
Right. This is produced by Guillermo del Toro, who also directed the first one. He was actually set to direct this one, but then he left to do Shape of Water. So that's why he's only a producer in this one.
Yeah, that's...
And then he got Best Picture for it, so I guess good for him. Good choice. You weren't getting Best Picture for this movie.
No, but this is like one of his like
babies,
like brain babies. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, he's the only guy that could do the film justice, right? Like, if you got Guillermo del Toro like doing shit, like you want him there for everything. You want him there for makeup. You want him there for the prosthetics. You want him there for the scenes. You like. I just don't understand how if I was on this project, I would have been like, Nah, that's cool. We'll wait. Go do Shape of Water. Like, we'll wait. Like, I want everything about you to bring, because it probably would have been a way better movie
if he directed it.
If he directed it,
possibly.
Like, I remember reading something saying like, well, the first one,
which you
from the
haven't
bits
seen.
and pieces that I haven't seen, but from the bits and pieces I've seen, like, you could tell it was his.
Right.
Like, there was no mistaking the way it was filmed, or, you know, like the character creation and stuff. Like, I don't know, dude. He's just a super talented guy who's really badass with bringing you into the environment.
Right.
Like, I would have just waited. I'd have been like, that's cool, dude. It's giant robots. We got time. Like, we got time.
Right. And truthfully, people who liked the first movie weren't really, I mean, if you just if you didn't like follow the first movie like some sort of cult following, I wasn't really ever expecting them to make a second one. So it wouldn't have bothered me if they had delayed it to let him direct the next one.
Yeah, right. Like, I remember I read a comment saying that, like, when they make the third one, that, like, they should just give the reins over to Del Toro and just be like, here's your money, go do it. Mm-hmm. They were like, let him make the movie that he wants to make with this.
Right.
And, like, I feel like it could end up being like our generation's, like, awesome Godzilla if he gets a hold of, like, a third one. Like, knowing that, like, what he can do with it. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I feel like he could make a super badass movie where you almost ignore the first two and you go, the third one's the best one.
Right, which almost never happens in trilogies. So
no, and it would, yeah. But I could see him making a really great movie.
Who knows? It's funny that we're talking about Guillermo so nicely on this. I was listening to another podcast yesterday. Film Snuff is the name of the podcast, and it's these two guys that the entire job of their podcast is just shit on movies like that are supposedly good, and they asked the question of whether or not people think that Guillermo del Toro, a case of how'd they put it? Emperor's New Clothes. Like, we're supposed to think that. Have you seen Shape of Water?
No.
Okay.
Why would I ever go see that movie?
Well, and it's got it won Best Picture, but you're like, it's a lot of Del Toro's movies are like you come out of the theater and it's like, was I supposed to like that? And it's like, maybe it's me that's fucked up. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he is amazing and the greatest gifted director of our generation, or one of. But so they had this whole like 10-minute portion of their podcast about whether or not he's as good as everyone like makes him out to be. And I thought it was funny.
I don't know if he is a great director or if he is just good at building the environment,
the world
that the story needs to be in.
Right.
And like, I don't know if he can go up to, say, some super famous actor and be like, I need you to give me more tears, or whatever the hell the scene calls for. Like, I don't know if he is a director that can, like, does that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, if he's like, or if he's just a dude that makes so much of the environment come to life,
right?
That it's amazing in that sense, because you don't see that anymore. Like, the effort he puts into the details and the characters, like the way they look, like, you just don't get that anymore. Everybody's like, let's just CGI the fuck out of everything.
He does like his practical effects here when he can do
yeah.
it.
Yeah, like, I truly appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, as a horror buff, you should, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, like,
there's no way to do horror.
Don't give me bullshit, man. Give me the real deal. Spend a little time. Give me that severed head. You know, like,
right.
Do it right.
Right. There's no way to do good horror with CGI, except maybe what's the one?
Well, there's no good way to do blood.
Right. Very
with
true.
CGI, especially like a blood splatter of some sorts that's like gonna hit the camera screen or something like that. You know, like, you just can't do that with CGI. It should be banned.
Right. I mean, the only one that I would say that was heavily CGI'd that's a good horror movie, which even I wouldn't really call a super horror movie because is Cabin in the Woods. Like, it's a horror movie, but it's also like making fun of the fact that it's a horror movie, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
But it definitely had a decent amount of CGI, but it also had plenty of practicals as well. So, you know, it's one of those things. Anyways, we've gotten off course. As usual.
Very off course.
All right, so let's go ahead and step through the plot of Pacific Rim Uprising. We'll see how it goes. So we find out that it's 10 years since the end of the last movie, where they closed the rift. All the kaiju are gone. The Jaegers are just kind of like, well, now we've got these big giant robots and nothing's coming through again. So what do we do? So it kind of gives you that whole, the world is, we see what the world's kind of doing. Everybody's kind of just trying to still repair themselves. Nothing is completely back to normal yet. And we meet via the big bro party that's going on, like just giant house party that John Boyega's character's name is Jake Pentecost. He is living in a mansion that's got half a kaiju like skull and body laying throughout the rest of the house, and we see that he steals stuff to survive. And one of I like the first thing he trades is like an Oscar because they're in California. They're like in Hollywood or whatever in that area.
Yeah.
So the first thing he trades like a box of cereal is an Oscar. And then he's trading parts. We find out he trades Jaeger parts, old Jaeger parts from a Jaeger scrapyard that's nearby. And we learned that the people are trying in the world now. There are people who are trying to build their own. They're trying to build ones that we see some video or some, I don't know, like post video, like some Jaegers that are being run by just people who build them themselves. And so the next thing we do is he is going to steal a new piece with a group of guys. He's going for a power core and a Jaeger, and so he's leading them into this junkyard full of old decommissioned Jaegers, and gets there and it's gone, like it's broken or it's missing, and he's like, but it's here, like I know it's here, like he's got this tracker, he can see it, and some unknown person just takes off on a bike, and they go chasing after her.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You come to find out that he crossed the group that he's with before, and so they're all like, well, we're going to kill you because the thing's not here. And he's like, hold on. It's here. It's just on the move. And then they all go chasing it. But he, again, double crosses them.
As usual. Yeah, very true. Like, drops him through a floor grate that opens up. Yeah, he takes care of them. Funny thing, or not funny thing, but cool side note, the leader of that group of 3 guys was in Spartacus as well. So it's Stephen DeKnight pulling people that he's worked with before.
Oh, nice.
He was the guy, he was always the schmarmy guy in Spartacus. He was wounded, so he never had to fight that often, at least at the very first season, the one that you watched with the old guy. Like, he was the one that was always hobbling around, but they kept him around just because he was, like, a good admin guy.
Gotcha.
Jake catches up with the person who stole his thing. Her name is Amara Namani. We'll just call her Namani from now. And she's using the power core he was trying to steal to power a kaiju a Jaeger she created on her own, that she built from scratch called Scrapper. She throws the power core into it, powers it up, and does she leave with him in it before the big Jaeger shows up? Or do they leave because the Jaeger's showing up? Oh, no, the cops are chasing. That's what it is.
Yeah, the cops are chasing, and, like, the Jaeger police, I guess. There's, like, a special task force for that or whatever.
Something to do with them, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, and so he jumps in, and he's like, let me drive, and she's like, hell no, and then they, like, closes them up, and they both take off.
Yeah, they take off, and so because her Jaeger is so small, I'd probably say it's, 2 stories tall, maybe? It's not that big.
Yeah, her Jaeger's maybe 20 feet.
Yeah, so she can control it. It doesn't require a pair like most Jaegers do that are the giant size. Only she can control it by herself. So she's hauling ass through town. The big Jaeger starts to pursue them, finally catches them, and she is able to deploy some smoke screens and takes off. And she's pretty agile. Like, she's been running. What's funny is if she needed the power core to get it going, she's really good at this Jaeger if this is her first time running it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, dude, I guess you just assume that, like, she was a genius because she built this thing her fucking self. So I guess you just got to give a little leeway that if you can build one, you can drive it.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, we're either going with just if you've built one from scratch, you know how it's going to maneuver, or that she's just that competent in a Jaeger. Just because she's a Jedi when it comes to Jaegers.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, they so poor Jake's like riding around inside the cockpit, bouncing around because at some point she rolls into a ball and is able to like roll around with her Jaeger, like rolls instead of runs, and he's just bouncing around.
I did like that her Jaeger did that.
That was pretty
sweet.
It
turned into a little bowling ball and like took off, and I was like, you know what, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so the Jaeger that catches them is named November Ajax. I literally have all the Jaeger names that we meet in this movie written down because I'm not even sure if the names are cool, but I got to say them because they're either so cool or they're so asinine that I have to say them because that's just the way it is.
Yeah, dude, when I like listened to the names when they were like introducing them in the movie, I was like, this is like one of those stupid TV commercials you see and you go, who the fuck in the boardroom was like, yeah, this is a good idea? like who agreed on some of these names, man? They're ridiculous.
Yeah, and I even had that problem in the first one that I just wasn't sold on like how they named him. Like if I was in this kind of police corps or military unit or whatever that had these Jaegers, and you're going to give them code names, like I'm not giving them the names like they have. I'm giving them something like Smash Brain Ball Ripper or something cool. You know, something that's like
Smash Brain Ball Ripper.
I don't know, something that sounds really, really good when you say it.
Yeah, like some shit cool like Snake Eyes.
Right.
Like from G.I. Joe, man. Like, right? Like it's simple, but it's fucking cool.
Exactly. But these all have really strange names, and we'll get to them here in a minute. So anyways, November Ajax catches them. That's like the only comedy thing is like when like the big giant Jaeger is like knocking on the face of the little tiny scrapper. He's like,
oh yeah, when he's tapping it.
Open the door. So they're arrested. Jake is taken to not just a holding cell like where Namani is. He's taken into like an interrogation room, and then a holographic image of Mako Mori, which you don't know it from the first movie, but I guess you kind of figured it out. She was one of the main characters in the first movie. She was raised by Stacker Pentecost, which is Jake's dad, who was also a main character in the first movie, and the guy who sacrificed himself to save the world. They were both. She was raised by him when he found her after an attack in Hong Kong. I think it was Hong Kong, and her whole family / city was decimated. So he raised her from a child. So Jake and her grew up together. She has definitely been promoted to something important. And so she gives him the choice of, hey, you can go to jail or stay in jail where you are now, or you can come back to, it's the Pan Pacific Defense Corps is what runs the Jaegers. She's like, or you can come and return as an instructor. Like we need you to teach more people how to run Jaegers because you're good at it. And he's like, well, I guess I'm going back. And she's also going, and you're bringing the girl who is with you as well. She's going to be your cadet. So he's like, what? She's like, yeah, she's coming with you. I've seen her. I know what she can do. Yeah.
Then, I would love to be talented enough that it would get me out of jail.
I'm gonna burn myself with coffee laughing so hard.
Like, right? Like, cause this trope's happened in multiple movies. Where, like, they go into jail and they're like, all right, man, this is your last chance. You either come back to the fucking SEALs or whatever military group they got. And I'm like, all right, look, man, I'm not all super in the know on how the police force and the military work.
Right.
But I don't think it works like that. Like, I just don't think you go, yeah, he's back in. Like, you know, I feel like there's some kind of paperwork trail or something that needs to happen.
Right, something you're not allowed to do. Well, you know, in Marine Corps lore, there's a General Chesty Puller. One of his famous quotes is that every good Marine should have an NJP once a year, which is a non-judicial punishment. So, you know, there's a little bit of you got to be a little bit of bad boy, a little bit of, you know, don't follow the rules all the time if you're going to be good at what we need you to be good at, which is fucking killing people. So.
Well, yeah. Like, I mean, I get that, but I don't think they're pulling many people out of jail to do that.
Yeah, but back in the so because we're not really that old because we're in our 30s. I'm in my late 30s. You're in your
middle 30s.
Middle 30s.
Yeah.
Back in the day, just because I know, like it used to be jail or the Marine Corps. Like that's how judges used to do. Got like people who were going to jail. They're like, okay, you can either do this or boot camp.
Well, yeah, but that's like your first offense, first people kind of thing. Like I'm saying, like I don't recall a story of them pulling out a dude who's super talented at something and who just decides to be a fuck up. And they're like, all right, dude, you fucked up hard enough. Like enough. we're gonna bring you back in.
Right.
Like, you've had your time. It's over. You know, like, I just don't think that happens.
You're right. And you know what also doesn't happen that Hollywood portrays all the time, which I've noticing because they're starting to show all the commercials for the summer programming, is insert random person with random profession helping out a detective. Like, I'm so freaking tired of that plot trope when it comes to TV shows. You know,
are you talking like shit like Castle?
Like Castle, like Mentalist, like don't get me wrong, I watched both of those shows religiously all the way to the end, but now there's like another one with like a magician that's starting to come up this year, like here in the near future, and I just don't, I'm like, stop. Like, it doesn't really happen. Like, you don't read about like people that team up for free to work with the cops all the time. Like,
no one teams up with the cops for free unless you're a cop.
Exactly. Well, and like Lucifer's one, but I also watched that show religiously. But that's also based on a comic, so it's not necessarily the same way. But I'm not really sure the comic is much of like him.
No, it's not very near the comic.
The comic's way cooler.
In name alone, it's pretty much, because I've watched like the first 2 seasons of Lucifer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, right. Like, I mean, it's your buddy cop thing. Like, but right. Yeah, dude. Like, I couldn't roll into the county sheriff's office and be like, "Hey, man, I'm really good at fucking IT and weed. You need help with either one of those?"
Right? Look at this. No, in fact, you can just go ahead and sit in this cell over here, though.
Yeah, right? Like, they're like, "No, man, we got a place for you."
Yeah, we got a place for you, and it's not next to this detective working on cool cases. Yeah. So, anyways, another sidetrack. I'm sorry. So, Jake and Amani arrive at the Hong Kong Shatterdome, which is the places they call all the different places that Jaegers are stored over the world. They're called Shatterdomes, which I'm not really sure why you would use the word shatter in anything that you're supposed to. That never made sense to me either. Like, if you're going to call it something dome, I mean, we can always take off of Mad Max and just call it, what was it? Was it Mad Max?
The Terror Dome.
Was it Terror Dome? That's not right. Googling. Thunderdome. I had to do that. I had to figure it out.
There we go.
Thunderdome. Yeah.
I knew it started with the T.
Like, if you're going to call something dome, you're going to call it Thunderdome or Badass Dome or something, not Shatterdome, because it seems to sound weak, which actually later on we realize it pretty much fucking is. So maybe it is a good name for it. Yeah,
they're like, "Hey, man, these things are like those glasses on a fire extinguisher, you know? Break before you use."
Yeah. Oh, that could be a cool... Yeah, maybe that's... Well, then I would just call it in case of emergency dome.
Right there you go.
So as they're getting there, this is like the only tweet that I pulled out during the movie because I don't like pulling my phone out. Plus it's a new phone. I didn't know how to turn my Twitter into like night mode right away. So I was like looking at the white screen, but I tweeted that the new girl Namani was like fangirling all over as they're walking into the Shatterdome. She's like, "Oh my God, and she starts naming them all off. And there's like Gypsy Avenger and Saber Athena and Guardian Bravo and Titan Redeemer and Valor Omega. And then Bracer Phoenix is those first 5 were Mark 6 Jaegers, which I don't think they had Mark 6s in the first movie. And then Mark 5 was Bracer Phoenix. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, with stupid names.
Stupid names. I know. They just it's like a where you just put it's a random word generator. We're gonna have this and this, like your birthday and the first letter of your first name. That's what it
right.
Feels like.
Yeah, and then they had like a 6-year-old pick them out.
Right. Just which word sounds cool? It may be though. You never know.
Mm. He's like, "I like Redeemer. That's cool." I'd be like, "No, you don't, creepy little kid. You need to find something else."
So, Mako and Nate, who is played by Mr. Eastwood, explains to them that the Jaeger program itself as a whole is in danger of being canceled, put aside, not needed anymore because the Shao Corporation is developing Jaegers that have a computer in them that can be run by people not in the bot, which would be nice. So you're not killing people if the Jaeger gets destroyed.
Yeah, which I don't know why they didn't do that in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, they didn't even do it well this time either. So maybe there's something with the size of it.
Yeah, maybe it's really hard.
Maybe it's really, really hard. They keep acting like it's really, really hard to make these robots work. So maybe it is. So we're all at that point. We're introduced to the owner of the Shao Corporation, Luan Shao, and of course Dr. Newton Geisler, which is the guy from the first movie. He's working with her at that company, and Yeah, they're ready to make a final assessment to see if those drones are ready to be deployed as opposed to using Jaegers, which is going to happen at the Sydney, Australia Council meeting, which is where they send Gypsy Avenger with Jake and what's the guy's name? Nate. Nate is Mr. Eastwood's character. Now I know. So Jake and Nate. So yeah, I think at this point they introduced they put Namani in the group of cadets, and it's literally, speaking of tropes, it's the every time anyone new enters a group of people in training, it's always like, there's the nice guy, there's the nerd guy, there's the quiet person, there's the fucking asshole. Like, it's always the same whenever you have that kind of thing happen in a movie. It's just the same people every time.
Oh yeah, dude. Like I've met numerous groups of people, and I've never ran across any of those. Not
in the way that everyone always runs into them in movies. Yeah.
Like I've never showed up at a soccer academy and someone was like, "Hey, this is my bunk. I'm going to fuck you up."
Right.
Yeah. Like I was like, "Jesus, dude, just angry for no reason."
And it's like, oh, wait, you're the asshole? That means you guys are going to fight later, but then you're going to gain respect for each other, and you're going to be best friends at the end of the movie. Like, you can just see it happening. It just,
but that's how, like, yeah, and the fact that it's between two girls, because that's not how girls work, dude.
Right. She thinks
like two dudes can get in a fight.
Right.
And be best friends afterwards.
You've told that story on this podcast before.
Yeah, like shit, dude, get your ass kicked and be buddies. Two females get in a fight like that. They will never talk to each other.
Right. Somebody stabbing somebody middle of the night.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's unrealistic, but you could tell exactly what was going to happen. Like, as the movie went on, you're like, oh, here it goes. So, they're met. They all meet.
I think that was kind of part of, like, some of the downer with the movie, though.
What, the interactions of the humans?
Well, yeah, because they're all, like, short-lived and they're almost not needed.
Right. Well, they don't do... I don't think there is enough character development. If you're going to develop it, you just did enough to, like, I'm bored of watching you talk.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like those scenes they put in, they're like, okay, we got to have something to make this an hour and a half, or whatever. And if you're going to give me this, like, where was my training montage? You know what I'm saying?
We here shortly we get, like, one where they're trying. She's the new girl. Namani's trying to battle a kaiju in a training simulator, and they don't do very well, and they don't meld very well, and all that. The handshake between brains.
Yeah.
The worst part is, especially for you, if you haven't seen the first movie, is like, and I guess I give them credit because they're like, only people who are going to go see this movie are people who liked the last one, or at least enjoyed it enough to watch it. So. They don't do, and I guess I give them a little bit of credit for not explaining a lot of things. So when they say handshake between the brains, they don't take a lot of time to do exposition to explain that whole process because they went over it forever in the first movie.
Well, but I mean, also, like, it's pretty self-explanatory, like, when they say it, and they show it. It's like, okay, look, you got to have two people who are navigating this machine who are on the same frequency, basically. Like, if you didn't pick that up, you just shouldn't watch movies, right? Because it was very easily understood,
right? Well, they also when they're talking about not chasing the rabbit, don't chase the memory. There's a whole scene in that in the first one too, like where they go more into what happens, like if you get stuck in a memory. I mean, we see the whole memory of the girl when her parents died, which, by the way, when her parents fucking died, like, hard, like, that was bad.
Yeah. Stepped on, just squashed.
Yeah, they're like, oh, please jump. And I'm so glad you were scared not to jump, little girl. Because they all got squished. Every single one of them. So during her training, she loses it and slips into that memory. And that's when her training simulation gets killed, and so that things aren't working well. She's not doing that well. Jake and Nate go to Sydney for the Gypsy Avenger. They're just there, literally. They're announcing the drones. I think it's like they're getting ready to evaluate the drones, and they're just like, you need to go there and look pretty. Just drop out of the sky and just stand there pretty. Don't do anything. And so as the meeting's going on, Mako is choppering in to do whatever she was going to do, and a rogue Jaeger just comes out of the water, which was pretty fucking sweet. I thought it was going to be, not Jaeger. Yeah, Jaeger. I thought it was going to be a kaiju at first. I was like, oh, something's gotten through.
Yeah, that actually was a little twist that threw me off there for a minute. And I was like, okay, so now we got an inside man.
Yep, something's wrong on the inside. So Gypsy Avenger fights the Jaeger that shows up, which happens to be Obsidian Fury, they tell us later on. So during the fight, Mako, of course, hasn't landed in the chopper yet, so we know something's going to... I mean, I think I leaned over to you during the movie. I was like, well, this is when she dies. And you could see that scene just unfolding. Right. And
you're like, yeah, some shit's about to go down right there.
And that's why I think the ratings that this is getting right now are correct, because nothing in this movie there wasn't a twist, there wasn't a surprise. Even the twist, using air quotes, the twist wasn't even that big of a twist, and it was given to us halfway through, so you already knew, it may have even been before halfway through, you knew what was going on, like who the real bad guy was, or at least more of who it was, I guess is what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely... It's like, for the action scenes and the Jaegers, it's like you could see they put their effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then with everything else in the story, it was just like enough to get by.
Same old. Like, yeah, nothing new out of the ordinary. But, I mean, which makes it, that's what makes it an okay movie. A good C or a B. I mean, a good C. I wouldn't even give it a B. You said B-, but I wouldn't. I'd give it a nice C. It's a nice action movie. But anyways, they get Gypsy Avenger, like Obsidian Fury fires something at, or somehow the chopper is going down. Like it gets hit during the fight between the two Jaegers, and Jake and Nate and Gypsy Avenger go to try to catch the chopper, and he misses by like he glances it with the robot's fingers, like just barely misses catching her. And as they're crashing, she's trying to email something out to somebody, which says it fails. And then it crashes and she dies. The Jaeger's down. Jake jumps out, runs he's like, I'm not fighting this big bastard anymore. I'm leaving. And then some other Jaegers, the PPDC flies in a few more Jaegers as the fight was happening. And as they show up, the rogue one heads off and dives back under the water and takes off.
Yeah, I like how it just nonchalantly just walks back into the water and is like, all right, man, business is done.
Right, he literally could have been like, peace out. It's like, I'm not fighting for y'all. That's not what I'm here for. So this already puts something in your brain, like, so did the drone program, like, did they have a Jaeger do this just to show people that they could be, that people are going rogue with Jaegers or what? And I'm not sure if we ever really got there. I guess we finally know at the very end who did it in the first place. But Mako's death in the helicopter crash prompts the PPDC to authorize the drone program. I don't even know if they even did a final test. They were like, nope, we want them deployed in 48 hours, which is like such a government thing to do. Because that's like, so you see like anybody who's in IT or anything who's ever been in any sort of contract with some sort of deadline, they literally had that meeting that we've had before. We're like, okay, everything has to be ready in 48 hours. And they're like, it's impossible.
The government has no concept of time for anyone else.
No. And it's like, oh, so you think you can't do it? Then you're fired. Or maybe you're hired, or maybe you're something. You're promoted. I don't even know yet.
Yeah, right. If you get it done.
Right. So they approved the drone program. It's rolled out. They decrypt the message that was blocked being sent, which didn't make any sense. Like, if you don't have any comms, like, your message isn't going anywhere. And it's on a tablet that just exploded. So, but apparently they could magically save it. And they find out it's a map of a old Jaeger production facility in Russia, and they send Obsidian, or they think that's where Obsidian Fury is like its home base, the one that was rogue and attacked at the meeting. So they send Gypsy Avenger up there. So this is your next big giant robot battle, and this is actually a pretty badass one. I think even in the first fight with the rogue Jaeger, like, you could tell that it had some pretty sweet ass tech on it. Like, it had some flaming sword. Like, they whipped out their sword, and then the rogue Jaeger whipped out his sword, and it had like flames. And they're like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, that was there was some of your comic relief right there.
Right. So they have their they have their big fight in the. This is a pretty cool fight because it's in like Siberia. It's ice. They're on like an ice pond or like an ice lake or something, and it's a pretty sweet.
It's just called a lake.
Yeah, it's not a pond because they went down into it, like way into it.
Yeah, but it's not called an ice lake.
Well,
it's just a lake. It's just a frozen lake.
Okay, it's a frozen lake.
Ice lake. They were on an ice lake or something. Like what?
It's Siberia. It's Siberia. That thing has never not been an ice lake. Okay. So big fight happens. They finally get the upper hand. They cut it in half practically. They rip it. They go to tell the drivers to get out of it, and they rip it. And honestly, if there had been humans in there, they would have killed them getting the face mask off. Like they ripped that shit off. And like hardcore.
When that thing came off, I in my head I went, well, whoever's in there is dead.
Right, there's pieces in there now.
Yeah.
But it turns out that it's a kaiju secondary brain that is running this Jaeger. So plot twist, bum bum bum. Now there's like kaiju parts inside Jaegers. So at this point I was like, so are the drones all run by kaiju brains? And I think this is the part, like right now is when we see like that side clip to Geisler going home, because we know he had mentioned like his wife to the other doctor, Gottlieb. He was like, you should come and meet, what was her name? Like Sally or Annie or something. You know, you can finally meet my wife. And so he comes home and he's talking, and then he turns a corner and it's just the piece of the kaiju brain that he melded with in the first movie. And so now we realize, oh shit, he's compromised.
Yeah, because he's like, you've read my brain.
Right. So
read my mind or whatever the fuck he said, yeah.
He's getting on his VR sexy time with his kaiju brain.
Yeah, that's...
So, since the drone program has been activated, they apparently ship out in 48 hours. I'm sure nothing will go wrong, because nothing ever goes wrong when it's a rush deployment of anything. And literally, as they arrive, the drivers who are at Shao Industries, like driving them from the remote locations, they start glitching hardcore, and then all of the processing units that are in these Jaegers start transforming into kaiju parts, like pieces, like anatomy type things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't understand how that happened.
I don't know either. I'm not really sure how you hide that shit. But apparently he had all kinds of backdoors. Geisler had all kinds of backdoors built into every one of their programs, and half the stuff's automated, so no one ever touched it human-wise. And, you know, I don't know if there's some sort of, like, if he's, like, trying to say something about how things are done these days, but good on you, whoever wrote, the writers this. It's like, if we don't let humans touch it, people can sneak in there and do shit to it. I don't know. I don't know. So anyways, there is just a giant... we see the attack on the Hong Kong Shatterdome where all the recruits and everybody is. And I believe at this point, this is literally almost the exact type of scene from... Why am I blanking on the movie now? Starship Troopers, where he's about to wash out. So Namani is like done. She's quitting. She's not gonna. She didn't make it. Why was she leaving? Was it something she did, or the fact that did she mess up? I can't remember if she messed up or.
I think she was just a quitter.
Yeah, she just gave up. She's like, I'm not made for this anyways, or blah blah blah. Well, it's literally the same thing that happened to Starship Troopers. Where like right as she's leaving, the war starts up. Just like when what's his name's character is leaving Starship Troopers, and then the war starts, and he's like, "Where's everybody going? They're attacking!" And he runs back. He's right back into the action again.
Yeah, he's like, "That's my home planet. Right. I have no home to go to."
Yes, it's literally what just happened. She was getting ready to walk out the door, ring the bell, and then all these drones attack. So everybody's like, "Okay, we're right back into it. Let's go." So after the attack on the Shatterdome, all the Shatterdomes, in fact, they said that they simultaneously attacked. The drones attacked every Shatterdome they were delivered to, which sucks. Really hardcore. Dr. Gottlieb goes to seek out Geisler for help with what's going on with the drones, and of course unaware that Geisler's the bad guy. Of course, now at this point he reveals it to him. Geisler pretty much does his whole like bad guy reveal about the precursors, all the stuff he's setting up. Oh, I know what we forgot. After the drone attack, or I guess while Gottlieb is getting his exposition from Geisler's, when Geisler's telling him the big bad plan of the kaiju, we still see that all of the drones in each of their locations are like gathering in like a circle jerk and firing their lasers all at one location and opening up rifts again to bring more kaiju through.
Yes.
So that happens. And we see the one in Hong Kong. We see a kaiju start to emerge, but a couple of the Jaegers get stood up and they are able to stop them. And so that was kind of a cool scene because when the rift closed, it was only halfway through. And so it cut that son of a bitch right in half. It was pretty cool. We're like, you didn't do very well. So
almost made it, buddy. Almost.
This is when Geisler gives his whole, like, he had a backdoor to the drone program. We learned that, because up until this point, we weren't really sure about the CEO, Xiao, the girl who runs Xiao Corporation. We weren't really sure if she was a good guy or a bad guy. They played her as very stern and very, like, mean all the time at the beginning, so we're like, oh, you're just a dick CEO who's just mean to everybody, plus you're a woman, so you're having to make up for the fact that people are going to possibly look down on you because of the day and age and what you do. So she's like a super double dick, but then we realized that she's actually just like loves what she does and had no clue that Geisler was messing with her, like, work of her life type thing.
And that was her life's work, and she just wanted it to work, and then he was in there dicking with everything.
Right. And so the way I know what happens. It wasn't. I messed up my storytelling earlier. It wasn't. They didn't get any Jaegers moving. She got through his back door and shut all the drones down, and that's what closed all the rifts up. It wasn't any Jaeger.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my fault. Forgive my storytelling. It was a couple days ago that we watched it. And sometimes all the robot / kaiju battles just kind of mesh into one in my brain. So she gets her back door into the program, and she kills Geisler's whatever he had built into it. It shuts the drones down, closing the rifts. Was just when that one gets cut in half. But what we do find out shortly thereafter is that two Category 4s and a Category 5 kaiju did make it successfully through the holes. And they are all converging on the city of Mega Tokyo, which is what Tokyo apparently is called now.
Yeah, because it got bigger.
Right.
So let's call it Mega.
And something that was mentioned in passing earlier in the movie, which I didn't touch on, comes to fruition in the finale, or in the final part of this movie. Dr. Gottlieb was trying to work with kaiju blood because it's very reactive when mixed with certain rare earth minerals. It's very reactive, and he was trying to create like jetpacks for kaiju, or for Jaegers, so they could deploy them faster than having to chopper them in wherever they're supposed to go.
Yeah,
and thus making the drones not as big of a step forward where they could still use Jaegers. So that turns out to be, of course, they focused on it just long enough to go, well, that's going to be important later on. I don't know why, but it is, and this is what we find out, is that every kaiju who's ever been put on Earth who's come through has always been heading toward Mount Fuji. It wasn't that they were destroying towns just randomly and fighting the Jaegers that came at them. They were all trying to make it to Mount Fuji. And we find out that because of the Ring of Fire that Mount Fuji is a part of, being a volcano, with their blood, they could just throw themselves into this volcano. If there was enough kaiju blood in there, it would react, therefore igniting the Ring of Fire, which is a thing that really exists. If you haven't Googled it, look up Ring of Fire. It's pretty cool. It's a whole bunch of volcanoes in a certain section of the Pacific. It's the, Pacific Rim. Pacific Ring? I don't know. Pacific Ring of Fire? I don't know. Anyways, but it was going to activate that, throwing a whole bunch of soot and ash and just pretty much bad stuff into the atmosphere and destroying all life on Earth, therefore making it a perfect place for the kaiju to build their next world or whatever. And that's the whole plot. So we have these three kaiju who are now converging on Fuji, and it's time for, guess who? Mr. Eastwood and Finn from Star Wars and their Jaeger, and then all the trainees, because they already have their pilots. We got them right here. And so they all jump into their Jaegers, and they all get jetpacks. They do what would probably take days and days, if not months, like, to get these jet things built and done. They do it in, like, a quick exposition of, like, 5 minutes.
Yeah, dude, the montage of, like, the work and the building and all that stuff was just like done.
Right. Like, you didn't even give me, like, it takes months of planning to just build rockets to get rid of.
Yeah, like, you didn't even show me one giant thing being moved. You just kind of, like, aerial to viewed over some people who look like working ants now, and then it was done.
Right, and everything's fine. Probably like a day later.
Yeah, right? There was a 24-hour turnaround on that one.
Yeah, so now we have all the Jaegers, all the remaining Jaegers have rocket packs strapped to their back full of kaiju blood, rare earth minerals that are going to rocket them where they need to go. So they do that. They all take off successfully, and it's all this big, like, suspenseful. Is it going to do? Of course it's going to do it. It's freaking fine. Of course they're going to make it. They're all going to get there fine. So
not going to have a movie if they don't make it.
So you have 4 Jaegers who end up being there for the fight. So Gypsy Avenger, Saber Athena, Guardian Bravo, and Bracer Phoenix are who show up. Those are the 4 that fight. The kids being in in 3 of them, and Gypsy Avenger being run by Jake and Nate. Of course, that's their bot. Fight ensues. The kids do pretty good, but they're stupid teenagers. So at some point during the fight, the Russian guy and the Arab kid, they don't listen to orders and go to attack one of the kaiju, and it just fucks their world up, and it kills the Arab kid, and that's what you get. Sorry,
yeah, that's all she wrote.
That's all you wrote. It can't help you. Sorry, buddy. You didn't want to work with boobs.
Yeah, you were a little too gung-ho there, homie.
Right. He's the one whose father was a plastic surgeon, so they were like, you should just go back and work with boobs.
Yeah, I think I made a comment like working with boobs would be much easier now or something like that.
Right. So during the fight, we see that Geisler is off on a rooftop somewhere, like controlling everything, and he opens up one of the drone factories, and a shit ton of like little tiny bug drones come scurrying out of it. And they're all the Jaegers who are there are bracing for like to be attacked, but they go around them and head towards the 3 kaiju who are there. And then this is when, through I don't even know what sort of like surgery / combination, these things combine these 2 class 4 and this class 5 kaiju into one mega kaiju with 3 brains, and it's massive and huge, and I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just a big ass giant monster.
Yeah, it's just when you think of big monsters, like this is as big as you can think of a monster. Like it's fucking huge.
Yeah, because it stands up when it gets done being created. It stands up, and all the Jaegers who are 100 feet tall, all are looking way up at it. Like it is a big ass beast. And this is, and I think this is the point where everybody goes for it, and it gets destroyed. The one Jaeger gets destroyed and kills the kid. Everybody else is knocked out of commission. Even Gypsy Avenger is down for the count for a moment. And so the monster, in true fashion, starts heading for Mount Fuji. He's like, I'm good. I don't need to mess with you guys. I'm going to go toss myself into this volcano. And so it's trudging its way slowly enough that the plot is able to develop, because it is slow as shit for being as big as it is. I'm not sure.
Yeah, right. You would think like 4 steps and it would have been there.
Right. I'm not really sure how far Mount Fuji is from Tokyo, but it's like, how far really? I think they said at some point they were like, it's got 2 kilometers to go. Like, that's like a couple steps for that big bastard.
Yeah, right. Like, it didn't make much sense.
Yeah. So with Gypsy Avenger down, all the other Jaegers are out of commission. In fact, I think all the kids have like met up now and like done their like hug it out type thing. Like, oh, we're all still alive except for that one kid, except for that boobs kid. Like, we're all good. And
yeah, we'll mourn him.
We'll mourn him later. So at some point during the fight, Nate is ejected via like the escape pod for the Jaegers, which is pretty cool. We also see like Namani and her crew, which is one of the other 3 Jaegers that are run by 3 people, which is pretty cool because the Russian chick gets to go in like the gut cannons that she gets to fire at the Jaegers. That was cool, man. That was a sweet scene right there. That girl is going to town, but they all eject out of there. So we've seen the escape pods before their Jaegers destroyed. That was a little bit earlier. But Nate's ejected. Jake can't run it by himself. So with Nate deployed, Namani climbs in the cockpit, and they're like, okay, we got to fight this guy. And then all of a sudden, Scrapper, Namani's Jaeger that she had built, comes flying out of the sky, having been deployed as well. And we see that Shao is piloting her remotely from headquarters. And so she helps take one of the last working rockets that are in the area. She runs it to them as the kaiju is climbing the mountain slowly. She runs it over to them. She welds it to Gypsy Avenger's hand, and Namani's is driving with Jake. She also is like, what are we going to do? He's like, we're flying in the atmosphere and we're going to crash land into this kaiju and hopefully destroy it or kill it or whatever. She's like, you do realize that we just ejected my like, I don't have an ejection seat now. Like, and I can't be in this thing when it hits it. He's like, don't worry, I'll get you. You'll ride in mine. That's what Jake says. So Scrapper is holding on to Gypsy Avenger as they ignite the rocket. They hilariously like don't go up first. They like go through half the city like sideways. And then finally get going upwards in the right direction. They hit the atmosphere, and then they somehow, I mean, with as crazy as a takeoff and as high as they went, like the fact that they were able to aim it to hit the kaiju makes no sense to me either, but it was a cool idea, so I guess they went with it.
Yeah, that was just someone throwing darts at a board and was like, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, we're going to fly this thing as high into the atmosphere as possible, and then we're going to giant rocket punch it right in the face and kill it. Okay, let's go with that. Which is exactly what happened.
Which doesn't make much sense either, because like if they were gonna jump in the volcanoes and then like have all their blood and shit get splattered everywhere, like going up into the atmosphere and hitting the thing so hard that it explodes, wouldn't it kind of do the same shit? Like, wouldn't Tokyo still be fucked?
Well, it didn't really explode though, because it was massive. It just kind of died. I was worried about it. Like, yeah, what if you kill it and it just leaks its blood right into the thing? Who knows, right?
Yeah, you don't want that in the water supply.
Well, yeah, Mega Tokyo is no more. It's not going to be safe for a while. Not going to be nice to eat anything from there for a while. So it works. They fly up in the atmosphere. They actually have to shoot their hand rocket like to get them going faster because they weren't falling fast enough. And Jake snatches her. He like has her released from her piloting thing and snatches her and then ejects himself. Scrapper was hanging on to the back. Scrapper ejects or gets off as well before they crash land. The Jaeger punches the kaiju, the giant mega kaiju, in the face, killing it. Everybody's happy. Jake, Mr. Eastwood, finds Geisler on the rooftop, takes him into custody, and they bring him back to the headquarters for interrogation. Everybody has their happy, we're awesome, we saved the world hugs, and then at the very end, Jake sets up the third movie. He says, it's okay, because Geisler's talking in a different voice because he's got the kaiju talking through him or whatever. And he's like, next time humanities will be the ones attacking, the kaiju, the precursors, what they're calling them.
Yeah, he's like, we're coming to you.
We're coming to you. And now everybody in the movie theater is like, but I want that movie.
Yeah, right? Well, that's what I'm saying, man. That if you give it to Guillermo and let him do the third movie the way he wants to do it, it's going to end up being better than the first two.
Yeah, exactly. Because the first one was kind of like a shot in the pan. The second one was setting up the third one, as second movies always do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and if you can get him, like, can you imagine him like having creative free reign to create that world?
Well, if he's God's gift to directing that everybody says he is in Hollywood, then if you can make a fish man fuck a lady, then you can sure as hell give him free reigns of Jaegers and kaiju fighting each other in the Jaeger world or in the kaiju world. So. And that is Pacific Rim Uprising. So I know we said a little bit earlier, but go ahead and give your last final thoughts and your score.
What are we doing the score out of?
Out of 100.
Out of 100. I'd give it a 78.
Okay. I love that your shit is always like not a 0 or a 5, which is what mine usually are.
Yeah, man, I always got to make sure that, it's like, it's good enough, but then there's a couple points this way that make it like, okay, or there's a couple points that way where you go, maybe I don't want to watch this.
Yeah. So people,
like if you give something a 70, you're like, that's shit. You're like, I know that's going to be bad. If you give it a 75, you're like, all right. But if you give it a 73, you're like, damn, I don't know, man. Like, is it bad? Is it like, is there going to be enough in there to keep me going? But if you give it an 80, like if you give something an 83, it almost sounds worse than giving it an 80.
Very true. It's because American grading, the fact that half of the grading scale is worthless at American grading is kind of funny. That like anything, you're already failing at like a 60. So why even have the other 60 points. Just have 40 points. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It never makes any sense to me.
Like we don't need that, man. Like, look, you either get a B or an A.
Right.
That's all that matters.
Or not. You either get a B and A or not, and try again.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm gonna give it a 70 because I'm boring and not cool like you. It was good if you wanted monsters smashing into robots and a decent amount of it. It looked well done. I didn't notice the only thing, like, because every once in a while I pick on CG. The only CG shot that I noticed that looked like shit was when Geisler had got done yelling at his entire crew to get it done in 48 hours, and he was standing in the window, and they pulled back through the window, and then you realize that he was in the middle of like where all the drones were being made. Like that shot of him trying to putting him in that shot looked horrible. Like he was like jiggly and shaking. You could tell that it was just kind of like pasted there. Like other than that,
okay.
the rest of the CG was fantastic. You can still tell what you're looking at, unlike every Transformer movie but the first one. Like the first Transformer movie was awesome just because they knew what they were playing to, and they weren't making it real crazy. But after that, I couldn't tell what I was looking at half the time in the fight scenes. This one, you can always tell who's what and what's where. So that's hard to do for some big CG robots sometimes.
I guess so, man. I don't know. I haven't seen too many giant CG robot movies.
Transformers, that's about it.
Transformers, yep.
And that is not a good comparison to anything.
No.
So yeah, so that's our review and recap of Pacific Rim. If I get this edited in time, hopefully it's Friday, the first day of AwesomeCon in DC. I will be heading up there today, Saturday, and Sunday. Corey, you may be joining me on Sunday from what I understand.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get up there Sunday, man. Again, it always depends on how I feel.
I hopefully I can get this edited, and anybody in the DC area who listens to us on that Saturday, feel free to tweet at us if you're at AwesomeCon. We'll say hi. You know, go check out BB-8 or whoever happens to be in town whoever happens to be there that day.
Yeah, we'll find you. We'll come smell your hair.
Corey will absolutely. But as always, thank you guys for listening this week. Next week, we will be reviewing Ready Player One, which just hit theaters last night. We will be jumping into that here shortly. And Corey, it's already got a 90-something on Rotten Tomatoes,
I don't
man.
give a fuck what they've given. That movie's going to be shit.
78.
The movie's going to be fucking stupid. It's going to be people, and it's going to be nothing but fucking CGI and a bunch of nerdy shit. It's going to be so fucking dumb.
I'm going to have to...
And the worst part is that movie's like 2.5 hours, dude. It's fucking 2.5 hours. Like, now that I know the time, I don't even want to sit there for it.
I know, it's going to be I cannot wait
Like,
to
who
go
wants to
with
sit
you.
in the theater that long? God, it's going to be so fucking awful, man.
I will tweet quotes by Corey during the movie, like, the whole time. I hope that as you watch it, you like get closer and closer on the edge of your seat because you're so into it. But probably not.
Won't happen, dude. I'll probably be buried in my phone or taking a nap and be like, just tell me how it goes.
Hey, at least it cannot be as bad as A Wrinkle in Time.
No, but I checked out of that movie like 25 minutes into it. Like I have a feeling Player One will get me through that, but I have zero desire for this movie. like as soon as I saw it, I was like, this movie's gonna be dumber than shit.
I can't wait. This is gonna be great. Our best podcast, the ones that I enjoy it and you hate it. I'm not even sure I'm gonna like it, but I'm more into it. I'm more excited for it. I haven't made a decision yet. You're gonna go in. They're gonna have a hard job of changing your mind. I'm going in as a blank slate. So
yeah, dude, I'm already going in as a big fuck you to this movie, man. Like I don't know what it is, man. It's probably because it's the human CGI thing, and then like half the movie is going to be fucking CGI people living in some stupid ass world who are trying to fucking like. It's so dumb. The story's dumb. The fucking actors are dumb. Like even the main character looks stupid. Like he doesn't look like he'd be smart enough to do any of this shit.
Oh man, our podcast is not named incorrectly whatsoever. You're just a crotchety old dad, you know that?
I know I am, dude. I hate everything. Like, the older I get, the more miserable I get with things.
Well, we shall see. That is the next podcast. Tune in here next week for, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we upload, because like I said, they're never on the same day. So we will catch you guys next week. We will see what Corey thinks of Ready Player One. Until then, guys.
Yeah, guys, take care.